Hello and welcome to the Buying a Business Product Package Overview presented by ESS BIZTOOLS. There are a number of checklists and articles contained within the Buying a Business Product Package. Obviously, it's a buyer's market at present. So if you are acting for a client who is looking to you to evaluate various businesses, you're probably going to be asked to look at a few businesses to determine the one which best suits your client's requirements. So the first form we have is a business checklist for purchasing a business. What's involved? This is a checklist of items that we'd be suggesting you should be asking your client to obtain from the vendor to save time and effort later on in chasing up some of this information. Basically, your client should be saying to the vendor, if you want to sell your business to me, you're going to have to give me this information on a commercial in confidence basis so that you have the information to enable you to undertake a proper due diligence review. And hopefully you're going to be able to start this process and finish it without stopping and starting because you haven't got all of the information that you need. So this form will assist you to make sure that you are getting all of the information that you require. Obviously, if there's additional items that you need because of the peculiarities of this business, make sure it's included on the list so you receive that information from your client. The next item I want to talk to you about is buying shares in a company. Normally, I advise clients not to buy shares in a company, but I know that in some situations, in some business transactions, the only way that your client might be able to obtain this particular business is if they buy the shares in the operating company. Sometimes your client might not be buying all of the shares that have been issued in a company. There could be some other shareholders. Hopefully your client's obtaining a majority shareholding, but that will also vary on a case-by-case basis. This form will assist you to undertake a due diligence review on what is happening within the company. Because once your client acquires those shares and presumably becomes a director of this company, then the buck ends at their door. If there's any problems within the company, they are then listed in the shareholders register as being the shareholder, and as far as ASIC's concerned, they're the directors of the company. So it's very important that there is a very thorough review undertaken on this company if you are going to be advising one of your clients to buy shares in a company. So this form looks at the corporate structure, the current shareholders, who are they? Have any share options been issued, especially if your client's not acquiring all the shares? Is there some other shareholders in the shareholders list who have got share options? Or has there been an agreement reached with some of the other shareholders that their shares are not to be diluted by further issues? That basically means that their percentage of ownership of the company is not to be diluted. Is there any shareholder agreements or term sheets that have been signed off? Who are the directors? Do you know them all? Who's the chairperson? Are regular directors' meetings held? I was very impressed a few days ago when I was reading something about Frank Lowry's company, Westfield. And the article in the Financial Review indicated that the 501st directors' meeting of Westfield had been held recently in London, actually. That company has obviously kept very detailed records. Presumably, they knew they had to because they're a public company and they've been a public company since 1960. But it was great to see that there was this continuity. And I would assume that every director's meeting had been given a number, which is not a bad idea. What goes on at directors' meetings? Who submits reports? If you're going to be a director of this company, are you happy with that process? Or probably what I should have said, if your client is going to be a director of this company, are you happy with this process? Would you recommend that your client gets involved in this company? Who's the company secretary? Is there an audit committee? Is there an auditor? Has the company got any problems with ASIC? Who's the management team? What's their salaries, their bonus arrangements? Share options, if any. Who are the employees? What's the position on long service leave? Has an appropriate adjustment been made in the consideration to be paid by your client relative to long service leave? Superannuation. Is superannuation payments up to date? And so this document goes on. It talks about personal property securities register later on. What's the company do relative to their potential risk under the PPSR? Do they do anything? Do they have a system? What's the arrangements with the company's banker? And so on. There's a lot of questions in this particular form because this is a big issue when your client to buy a business is going to acquire shares in a company. The next form we have is where we're looking at acquiring a business, but not from a company, from a partnership, a sole trader. But there's still a requirement for a detailed review to be undertaken of the entire business. Some of these questions are very similar to the ones relating to companies. We've just elected to put them into a completely separate form because it's not a company due diligence form. We're looking at a business due diligence form. And it's very important that if you're advising your client on buying a business, that there is a detailed review undertaken of things like who are the team, who's the management team, what's their arrangements, who is the business leasing the property from, what are the arrangements, what are the restitution clauses contained in the lease agreement. Has this been read and thought about? And there's a whole range of other issues there which I would suggest that you have a good close look at when you're advising your client. Budgets and cash flow forecast targets can be very important because your client needs to set their own budgets now for this business so they can determine their own cash flow requirements. So what's the investment going to be at the end of each month in stock? What sort of stock turn are you anticipating? Or the stock turn days on hand? Work in progress, what's the potential investment? Debtors, investment, debtors days outstanding. How does your client's expectation on debtors days outstanding compare to what the business is currently achieving? If your client believes that debtors days outstanding are going to be 30 days and the business is currently trading on 70 days, you will need to have a good reason as to what is going to contribute to the improvement, because otherwise the customers will just continue to pay in their accepted practice, which is 70 days. And your client could find themselves very quickly with cash flow difficulties. Creditors, what are the payment terms for the creditors to this business? I've heard of situations where creditors have been imposing very tough conditions on a particular business. Someone else has purchased that business, hasn't taken much notice of the creditors, assumed they'll be able to get away with 50-day payment terms, and got a very rude shock when they found that those creditors were insisting on payments within a period of around 30 days. Will your client have the cash flow ability to make payments on that basis? And what are the cash flow requirements on this particular business, what loan payments have got to be made, etc., so that you're in a position to be able to prepare for your client's situation, but being very conscious of what is happening in this business, especially relative to stock holdings, debtors investment, debtors payments, creditors terms relative to payments, so that you can then formulate an accurate budget and cash flow forecast that suits your client's requirements for this particular business. And our recommendation would be that you prepare a business plan for your client as part of this process. He's buying a business or she's buying a business. So we have a whole suite of business planning questionnaires. This is the master index. There's a number of different master industries. We've got here food retail, which we're saying is what this industry might be. Where we've got the ticks here, of course, they represent that we have prepared detailed business planning questionnaires on each of those items, which in the buying a business package, you would get access to all of this material so that you could then utilize the questionnaires to be able to assist you by prompting questions from your client and the management team of this business, so that you are able to prepare a business plan for your client relative to the acquisition of this business. So that's the material or an extract of the material that's contained within buying a business product package. Good luck with this process to assist your client to be able to acquire a very good business that they'll be very happy with. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Goodbye.